Hey guys,
Hello.
how is everyone?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right, living the dream.
Right. Hi, Josh.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, thank you. It's still weird to do work-related things in sweatpants, but I'm getting used to that.
Sorry, I have a little. I'm freezing. I have a little blanket on here.
Well, yeah, I just closed my window because I live right on a main road, so
Oh, okay.
trucks go by, and then it's very distracting.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
How are
You
you?
did this twice today.
I know. Hi, Deb.
Hi, Deb. How are you?
So I'm gonna give people the 5 minutes here to jump on, so
Okay.
don't want to leave anyone behind.
Yeah.
So while you guys are waiting, I created a dummy Google Classroom for this presentation, and I put the class code in the comments, if you know where that is in your Zoom. It could be helpful to you to be able to see things on a student end of what it looks like to them on some of the things I'm going to show you. So if you want to try to jump onto that classroom, it could be helpful.
The chat's currently disabled.
It is?
Yeah.
What? Who did that? Oh. It's not helpful when I can see it and no one else can, huh? Did it pop up yet?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is a really silly question. So how do I get there from here?
So if you go to, one second.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to give a link, hold on.
I can, if you want, Justin, I can just share my screen. I know we're still in the beginning phases, but I have to join the class as a dummy anyway, so.
Yeah. Go for it if you have it up and
Yep.
show them.
So great. So once you're on, I always just Google the words Google Classroom because I'm signed in to my G Suite up here. So once you have that code, you just hit this plus. You hit join a class, and then you would just paste the code in there. And then you're good to go from there. It should pop up in a second. So if you just want to open up a browser, And then you can just look up Google Classroom. And the only thing is, if you're not signed into your G Suite, it might make you just sign in and then you just use your school Gmail from there.
Thank you.
Of course.
Well done, sir. We knew you had you around for a reason. Just gonna give it one more minute and then we'll get started. All right. So, has everyone had success getting in there? Deborah, you having problems getting in? You're muted. Can you just unmute? I can't hear you.
So it brings me back to my Google account when I go to Google, the browser, to take me to,
Do you use Google Classroom already?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I
when you,
use Google Classroom.
so when you do that, do you see this, your classes?
Yes.
Okay. And you have this little plus button?
Oh, let me go back and check that. Sorry, yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, hold on. I'm sorry.
No worries at all.
Yes.
All right.
Join a class?
Yep. And then just put the code in.
Yep.
This session brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Woo.
How's that?
Hasn't popped up yet, but it might take a minute.
It's popped up on mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just gonna let that do whatever it's doing. This is Crawford's coming in. There, I see you. Good. All right. Hello, Ms. Crawford.
Hi, guys.
So welcome to this session. The district had put out a survey about needs for technology training. And so out of those needs, you saw that grid that went out from administration with these different course offerings. And I'm quite familiar with Google Classroom. I use it as my platform for all of my classes. And it really works very well for me. And I think that it could be pretty helpful to others who aren't using it. There's some concern about, what's this going to look like in the fall, which I know is on everybody's mind or every teacher's mind. We're going to have to be able to be very nimble in terms of how we move around. If we get closed for 14 days or 20 days or a month, and we have to transition to online learning quickly, having this kind of infrastructure in place for you could really be beneficial, whether it's this tool, whether it's this platform or another platform. doesn't really matter to me or to the district. I think you use what you're comfortable with, but being able to use it that way, if you do get stuck and now we have to work from home, or if we have half days and half their days in the building and half days at home, your ability and effectiveness using these types of platforms could make all the difference for you and for the folks at home. So with that, I just wanted to give you a couple announcement type deals. The first is that this session is being recorded. So just know that, so that they can post it for training for staff that couldn't be here in the moment. And then the second thing you should know is that the chat is not private, even if you private chat someone else in this group. It will become, the host can see it when I finish recording. So just want to give you those two heads up before you step in it somehow, which I think in our district faculty meetings, I don't know how many people might have done that and not known it. So there you go. How many of you, just real quick, how many of you already use Google Classroom? Okay. How many of you kind of jumped in as this whole thing started and tried to get it up and running during the pandemic? Okay, good. So there are a couple other sessions on the real basics of how to create a classroom and how to populate it with students. So I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus more on the end of some other, the deeper dive things, some tips and tricks to help you better manage it and make it useful to you. And so I'm hoping that will at least give you enough. You may not like totally grasp it in this very moment, but enough to say, hey, I can play around with this now and try a couple of things I hadn't done yet. And so hopefully that will meet your needs. So let us start with, if you're able to kind of dual screen and see your Zoom and your classroom at the same time, that would be really helpful. If you're not, just do your best to kind of manage around it. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what I'm doing. Can all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. By the way, Josh is here as well to help manage the chat. So if you have questions while I'm talking and you just want to put them in there, he's going to help manage that for me while we do this presentation. So he's a former student of mine, so I know he'll step up. He'll step to the plate. I have no doubt.
Go band. Woohoo.
That's right. Yeah, virtual band is not so easy, but kind of a nightmare. All right, so a couple things I want to show you. First, this is what you're looking at here is the main stream where students see everything in there. They just recently added in this Google Meet ability right here. And if you click on that, you can set up Google Meets with your class. We're not going to cover that in this particular session, but they did embed that, which makes it very simple. Some school districts have found that using Zoom was not working well for privacy reasons and whatever. Being able to embed the Google Meet in your classroom kind of simplifies some things. So that's there is something you can play around with. Okay. All right. So let's do this. I'm going to do a couple things. First, I'm going to create an assignment. And
Do you want me to just push the thing, but with no sound? Okay.
all right. So when you create an assignment, you're going to, you can do it in a number of different ways. I want to show you a couple of those, and this might be a review for some of you or whatnot, but when you create an assignment, you've got all these options on the screen in front of you. So the title of what you put there is really important for keeping you organized, particularly if you use it a lot. If you title this with some strange name that's difficult to find, you can cause some issues in that stream over time. So think carefully about how you title it so it's clear to students what they're looking at. And then I found that students have found it really helpful if you have instructions posted in the document that they're going to be working from. It's also good to put it here in this screen where it says instructions optional. Sometimes the students are just thinking they click and work and sometimes skip the instructions. By posting it here as well, that gives you just that one more chance for them to understand what it is that you're doing. Now, I've added a document that I want all of you to open in just a minute once I've assigned it, okay? And you guys can still see the screen?
Yes.
So when you do that, if I just assign this now, the only thing you'll be able to do is open it and see it. You won't be able to really do anything with it, okay? I can make this so that students can edit the file, which means everybody's editing the same document. So if I just posted this right now, all of you in this meeting would all be editing the same document at the same time. That's a really great tool for group work. And I point that out because let's say in the fall, we have socially distanced classrooms, right? And we want our students still to be able to collaborate, but they can't come inside each other's bubble the same way. Well, we can put them into groups and then assign this to them with the same people on the same assignment. You can actually virtually manage the ability for them to be in a group and working on the same work at the same time. Now at the high school level, I often do this, but make them create their own document and share it amongst themselves. And so that's doable that way. For younger students, that's one step you might just want to avoid and not have to worry about, and you can handle that here. So you could do that here. Now, the trick to making that work is up here in the right corner. You'll need to decide who you're assigning it to. So let's say I want Josh and Deborah to work together. So I'm going to assign this to both of them, and when I push this out and assign it, it will only go to those two people. All right. So that's an easy way to kind of virtually manage and socially distance manage a group work assignment in Classroom, if that makes sense. Some other things in here, point totals. Right now, nothing's graded. So when I assign stuff, I'm putting the ungraded code in so that they're not looking for a grade to come back. And then another really handy tool are these topics. This is the best way to organize your Google Classroom. By creating these topics, you can make it so students can click on a topic. Like for band, I put all my announcements up there. So anything that I make an announcement on has a tag that says topic announcements. And then they can just click on that and all the announcements I've made come up in one place. If you're, right now I have one that says remote learning. We just started quarter 4. So I have a tag now that says remote learning, and then I can use that to assignments to put them all in one place so they know where to look for them. And to show you a quick example of that in my classroom. My kids are streaming video games and it's slowing down my internet. I apologize. All right, so right here you can see my Q3 remote learning assignments and my Q4. And this, so now I can see exactly what I did during that first period here of shutdown, and now from now to the end of the year, I'll tag them this way and I can find them very easily. Okay, so that's a really great tool to have. It's a simple thing, but it's one that's easy to forget to do because you're managing so many things. Now, and finally on the screen, one other thing here is make a copy for each student. Now, if this is individual group student work, if you were passing out to the class a paper, you'd hand each one of them a piece of paper with their own assignment to do. You can do that same thing digitally in this forum right here by clicking make a copy for each student. That way, when I send it and assign it, every student gets their own copy and they can type their answers right in and it doesn't mess up anybody else's work. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I accidentally haven't tabbed that and all of a sudden I pop in to see what they're doing and they're all typing answers into the same document and it's chaos and a mess. And so I try to avoid making that mistake. Now, when you add stuff, it's really good when you, by the way, if I'm going too fast or you have questions, please ask as we go. Josh, if you see something in the chat, just chime in. many times our assignments have multiple components that they're using. It's not all done in one screen. They might need to go to the internet to watch a video, or they might need to go to a website to find some information. It's really good when you create an assignment to package it all together so that when they open this assignment, everything's packaged. So let's say I wanted to add a link to a website. Click on this little add button and you can add in a link or a file or a YouTube video. Packaging is a great way to manage your Google Classroom so that things aren't all over the place. Everything they need for that assignment is in one place. That's something I've learned as I've used it more that's been really helpful for students. It's even good where if they're opening the document and you've put hyperlinks in the document or other resources to go find, you could still put them here as part of this package outside that document. So it's an easy click for them. And I think that could be really helpful. It's also helpful if you're doing this from home and trying to teach kids at home, at their homes, and parents are trying to help their kids figure out what to find and where it is. The better job we do by packaging our assignments makes it much easier on those folks at home trying to figure out how to help their student. So that's a really useful thing to do. Finally, 2 other features. You can add rubrics into your work here. You can create rubrics you created somewhere else. You can import them, so you can put that in. And this is fairly new, Originality Reports. This is particularly important for content areas with lots of writing. I use this on occasion for students when they're writing essays. It's basically a plagiarism tool, and it gives you information back if they copied and pasted it, where they copied and pasted it from. It's really been useful. I don't know how useful that is for younger grades, but especially for high school. They'll try to get by doing work any way they can. And this nice little tool they've added in has been a really helpful thing to have. So you can, all you have to do that is tab it, select it. Right now, they don't allow you to have unlimited use of this. So use it only when you really need it. But you can click that button and it will do that for you. So catch my breath for a second. Any questions about the things I just talked about? Mary Beth.
Could you go really quickly? I don't want to take up too much time. But just show me how that you package it, because right now I have everything under a topic, and I have like their template and I have their weekly activity log. So they have to click each one of those to get into it. But I like the idea of just packaging it, clicking one, but I'm just not quite sure how to do it.
Okay. So the first thing, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's the same thing I've done, Mary Beth. And Justin, you just cleared that up. What's been a challenge is it becomes long for the week.
Yeah.
Because I do have the topic this week, but I might have like 2 articles that need writing after a reading when I could have packaged it as one. I think it would be less confusing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially where everything is digital now. And then the other thing it does is every time we're doing stuff, the kids are getting another email saying you've posted something. And so if you have an assignment and you had 4 posts for that one assignment, they just got 4 emails. And it's really, really hard to manage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me show you. So I added this document first. And to do that, I clicked add. I went to my Google Drive and found the document I was looking for, which was this one. And so then I added it. Now let's say I want to add let's see, what's something that makes us happy? YouTube. No, let's not do that. The Middleborough Public Schools website. To do that, take your URL and go back to this add button on that screen before and click link. Then just paste your link in, add link, and it will appear right under it. If you had another document you needed to add or another link or a YouTube video, say YouTube. YouTube videos are great because you can search for it right here. Let's see, Middleborough High School. We'll add in the latest episode of the building project. So now you can see I'm starting to package all of these materials together on this one place rather than find it here, go there, and they're all over the place. And you can really add as many things as you need to. You can also create documents right from here. So if I need them to do a reflection, I can click Docs, and it will add a document there for them to do that in. And you can type into it whatever needs to be there, and that can go in as well. And then
Jesse,
again,
can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Could we do it by day within that topic?
Yeah, so every time you add a new assignment, you just add that same topic, and then it will
Yeah.
all put it together in one place.
Okay.
And do you see where you have the Middleborough Public School homepage?
Yes.
Do you have to make a copy for all of them? Do you have to do that, like either no, it'll just be,
Nope. So the only things you make copies of are documents that they're going to be editing.
okay,
So in this case, I
Okay.
can choose for this document. Maybe this document, I want them to
view it only.
just view it.
Okay.
You can tab it for whatever.
Mhm.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Now this, we're trying to give our kids the most dynamic learning experience possible in this remote environment, and trying not to just make it busy work. And sometimes that really means navigating the web. And maybe it is like you need some pretty tough restraints on what they're looking for. So you're going to provide them for them. This is the way to do it in Google Classroom.
My suggestion is if you do lay out multiple tabs like Justin's done for us right now, is so obviously in the instructions you might want to explain a little bit more. So first, view the building project video entitled Middleborough High School Building Project. Then step 2, go to the Middleborough Public Schools homepage, linked below, and do blah blah blah. So you just have to be a little bit more cognizant in your instructions.
Right.
This is that addition. The only other option, I prefer to do it this way, is I do these links and instructions in the Google Doc itself, so that the Google Classroom is very simple. So there's like less steps, but doing it on here is just as easy too. So.
And some teachers do it in both. Like
Yeah.
a lot of my assignments put it in the document and here. That way they see those two things connect and they go together. So Sue, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question. I'm packaging it like this, however, and I have it by day, but then individually at the end of the week, I kind of combine it for the week of. Is there an easier way to do that? Because I feel like I'm kind of moving it up, moving it down, putting it in one at the end of the week so that I don't have this big long stream of work.
So you might just want to edit the name of the topic you created and just change it for that whole week when you're done, and it will recategorize all the same ones that you use for that.
And I can still schedule them individually?
Yep.
That way? Okay. Because I feel like I'm doing a lot of extra work at the end of the week to kind of reorganize.
Yeah, I have to do some of that too. And you can click and drag things to different categories. I can do that.
Okay.
So here, like, let's say I miscategorized this one. I can put it into this one later on if I want, or I can move it back. Create different topics here, create new topics. So you can kind of manipulate this very easy by clicking and dragging.
Okay.
All right.
When you look at grades, we were talking at planning today, can you do credit, no credit as an option?
I do not believe they give you that unless you might be able to create a rubric that way. I haven't done that yet because that directive came so late last week. I haven't made it that
Right.
way.
Yep.
Yeah, you could give it like a 1 or a 2. 1 for no credit, 2 for credit.
I do 1 and 0.
Yep. Or 1 and 0.
I
Right.
did 1 and 0 this week, and
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been just doing, because they want feedback on student work, I just put them all as ungraded. And then each assignment, I put 1 sentence comment, great job, or I'll put great job credit or great job no credit. Great job no credit. Poor job. Trying to fix this.
Good job. No credit.
All right, so we can put it in like that.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about, are we clear with those things? Is that helpful
Yeah.
to you?
Helpful.
All right. Some other tips and tricks for you as on the teacher end, things you can do that are really helpful. I apologize, my dog is howling in the background. Up here in the left corner of your screen, this calendar is a really useful tool. Open that calendar, you can see when all your things are due. I mess up putting due dates in sometimes and they don't appear, so then I can see that. But I know that this coming Friday, this is what I'm getting in from my classes.
Yeah.
This is for all my Google classes in one place. All right, and you can tab ahead and back to see what you've been doing. It's just a nice, easy thing for you. You can do it just by the class if you want. Okay, but that calendar option is a nice, helpful thing. There's another option here called To Do. It creates a to-do list of things. These are all the things, and you can see the stats of what's been turned in and what hasn't. And you can your
okay.
work
Oh, wait a
right
minute.
here.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, okay. That's
Wow.
under the to-do, and that comes up automatically?
Yep. So right here under in the upper left corner, you can
Yeah.
go down to do. And this is kind of your workflow.
Mhm.
And this helps me when I'm partially grading things at a time, or when I'm,
Right.
you know, getting to the end of the semester and I need to see, do I have work getting turned in late? Instead of clicking 9 zillion places,
Right.
you can do
Right.
it all right here, or you can just go here to one specific class and see it all. So that's a nice workflow thing for you.
Mm,
Oh,
If
I like
you
that.
I like
if you
that.
put in due dates on your assignments, like now that we're in this this remote learning, if you're doing weekly assignments, if you put in a due date for like the end of the week, it will also help you to determine whether or not kids are turning things on time, or if they're like going back, that type of thing. And it keeps everything organized too.
That's a great idea.
That's good.
Yeah,
It's
because I
one of the most,
typically don't do that.
yeah.
Um,
It's one of the clunky things about this platform is that you can have stuff everywhere and you feel like you're lost and you're clicking through all these posts to try to find student work. And it can get overwhelming. As you can see, these are all my classrooms for this year. So I'm doing a lot of different things, but good. All right.
Can I ask about the streaming page?
Yep.
That has become really busy because, so I put an opening, I stream always, welcome to another learning week, blah, blah, blah. And then kids start adding things there, sharing some of their stuff.
So let me show you a way to try to manage that.
Okay.
The little gear here in the upper right corner. This is where you
Yep.
control what that stream looks like to a degree. You've only got so much control.
Okay.
But you do have some. So down here, next to stream, you can decide what you want to happen there. Students can post and comment. Students can only comment on something you posted, or
Yeah.
only teachers can post or comment. For my courses, I don't ever need them to post in my stream for any reason. There are other ways to get feedback in real time. So I always turn that off for my courses, and I put it on only teachers. If you
So
want,
I do too.
So I had a problem that I shut that off on streaming because I had done a training with a company that does training for Google Class, and then it shut off their ability to make a comment on a audio book that I read to them.
Right.
They couldn't comment at all now. I
so
think I shared with you, Eva.
Yeah. You have to put it on students can only comment. That will only allow the students to comment on posts that you create.
Okay.
and there's another backdoor way that you can do that, which I can show you if we have some time a little
Okay.
bit down the road. You can also do things to clean them up by what they see on the stream.
Yeah.
You know the classroom or the classwork tab is different than the stream now. They're separated out, but you still see that the assignment has been posted in your stream. You can manage how much information is there. So you can hide notifications of that so they only go to the classwork stream. You can show condensed ones that just shows them it's there with the title. Or you can show them the attachment and all the details. and that's in that main stream. It can get really busy in there, so I go for
Yeah.
less. So I show condensed notifications. I could see you hiding them all together, but sometimes they don't see it in that stream, and they're like, I don't have any work to do. So
Yeah.
I go
Right.
with condensed. All right. So there's that. Now, in that setup world, we also have grading that you can do through here, and you can add different types of grading if you use the same one all the time. Because the district's using Aspen, I don't use this feature. I don't need another way to manage grades. So, but this is here if you want to click through it, and they can give you explanations on how it's set up if you want to use that weighting stuff. But for me, I don't need two different platforms to do that work. So there's that.
So for someone like me, that's a good option for me because I only have one grade I have to put in Aspen, but I combine all those grades down to that one thing so I can download that into a sheet and then create my grade.
Absolutely.
So
All right, so let's take a look at some other things that can help. Grades, right? So you can click on that, and you, again, this is another place for workflow to see who's done work and turn stuff in. And you can see that in real time. Now, let's say we're in that quarantine or our remote learning, our distance learning classroom. So that means you've got 8 kids in your room spaced out, and you're really not supposed to go into their physical space. Right? We have to keep our distance in a classroom. Let's just say that happens in the fall. And you know, you're going to be discouraged from looking over their shoulder the way that you might have before. Well, then how do you know their work's getting done? And we all know they can click in and out of things so fast that they make it look like they're doing work and they're not.
Yeah.
Well, I want to show you a couple ways you can monitor in real time what they're doing. This is one of those ways right here. You can see this running list of who's turned it in and who has not. So nice job, Josh. You're an overachiever. Curious to see what kind of quality of work I got.
2 sentences.
The better place to do that, though, is under the actual assignment. So I want to show you the real-time feedback, and students get a kick out of this when I do it to them. But you can go in and see the assignments, right? This is everybody who's working. And let's say I want to go to Mary Beth's work and see if she's done anything yet. Well, from my desk, I can open up her work and see what she's done. Okay.
I have done that. Kids get really surprised at that.
And you can go in and you can type and you can say stuff, particularly for kids on IEPs or kids that are very hostile and angry when they get called out for attention. This is a way you can communicate with them more privately without calling them out in front of the class. So from my desk, I take a look and say, "Hi, Steve, can I help?" You know, and you can have that real-time conversation with them. I'll tell you, that's saved me a few times with students who are on the edge that day.
Yeah, that's a good point, though.
They don't want to get called out in that moment, but they know that you can pop in and watch.
I actually have been doing that during their remote learning. Like if I go just to see what they're doing and a student is online during that time, it really is helpful because then I can actually help them with a particular problem if they're not understanding it. So that's great.
Especially, you know, when we're home and they're at their home.
Right.
Or when we get in this weird situation in the fall where you really can't go into their physical space.
Right.
But they're still present in the room.
Yep.
Yep.
So you can accomplish that by typing right into the document, although it messes up their document. So you don't have to do it that way. But I can see they're struggling with this question, so I can add my own comment and just type it here. Add a comment. You can add private comments here. And you know that when you're in this edit mode, anything that you change gives them suggested edits. So if their punctuation is wrong and you change it, it will come up on their end as a suggested edit. So I'm asking them to replace this capital letter with a lowercase letter, which is obviously wrong. I understand that. But then they can approve or not each of those things.
Now, how do you get to that comment? Because I'm always like private commenting. How do you get to that comment that you just did?
Yeah, so just you're going to want to click in the document. So let's say this question right here, I highlighted it or placed my cursor wherever I need to be.
Yeah.
Highlight the question, you'll see this little plus thought bubble. And when you click that,
Oh, yeah.
now I can type in what I'm going to type.
Oh, thank you. All these are helpful hints. That
Yes, they are.
All trial and error. That's
Yeah.
just things I've learned on the fly.
And as long as they're in it, it works great. But I tend to do private comments.
Right.
But I had a couple of kids today saying they're not getting them. Can you tell me what might be going on?
That would be interesting if they're not getting them or if they're just not looking for them in real
Well,
time.
that's what I said. You need to look for them. They probably don't see them because in the way bottom corner. I said to go back and look and if they see them to get back to me. But I was just wondering if that was something maybe I was doing because I put it in the private comments.
Do you hit the bottom button on the private comment, Sue?
The bottom button.
It
There's a
says
bottom-
post, I think.
Oh, post. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then
Yeah,
you
I'm
submit.
posting them because it pops up, the bubble pops up, then I can see,
Yeah.
what I've written to them.
Is
Yep.
it before or after you've turned it in?
You can add private
After
comment.
they turned it in.
Oh, I've done it before. They've turned it in as
And
well.
before, yeah. I usually wait.
I've done it like you, Sue. I do it after they've turned it in when I correct.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
add private comments anytime. For me, like here, I'm back on this workflow screen with all of you.
Yeah.
And so I just told Sue she did a good job or good work and posted that. That's now attached. So when she opens her assignment to see the assessment, she should see that comment. It should be there.
Yeah.
The private comments come more into play when you have that group assignment that was getting talked about earlier. But when it's just a one-on-one doc or it's like an individual assignment, when they open their doc, it has that like a little marker of your in-text comment. So if you are saying like capitalize this letter, it has that little marker that comes in there. So that's why it just seems like they see that easier. But the private comments, it is probably one of those that they're probably just not looking.
Or they're probably just not going back into the document to look at it.
Yeah.
So they have to go back into it to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure.
Now I can get a running list of all the comments I've made. Let's say they wrote an essay and there's a lot of them. You click on this little open comment history button. And I can see anything I've done. That's a
That
good
is
one to
the
do.
best.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. That's right in the document or
Right in the assignment. Yep.
right in the assignment?
Everything that I did when I was in here is all registered in this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's great when you're getting kids to do some peer review and give kids suggestions that you can monitor that and see if they're, really just chatting or if they're just really making good comments.
Okay.
The
So
button right to the left of that, this little arrow, also allows you to see who's looked at that document. I find this really useful when I send something to my principal and I want to make sure he's like actually done something with it. I can see when he accessed the file. So you can see shared history and these different things. It's not loading for whatever reason right now, but that activity dashboard shows you how that document's been interacted with by different people.
good
So
to know.
that's helpful.
But Justin, is that just general or is it detailed like when you go into the version history,
The version history will give you a little bit more, which I'm
More
going to
detail.
show in a second. This is more who's looked at the document and what time they looked at it. Right, and then the last thing I want to show on this is, let's say you have a couple of students working together and you want to make sure that that group work, that everyone did their fair share, right? So to do that, you want to make sure that you can see your options here. And under File, if you go down to Version History, and then go down to See Version History, and open that, you can see who's edited what, and it's all color-coded. So I do a lot of group work in some of my elective classes, and Everybody's responsible for doing their piece of it. They need to be logged into their own account to do it. It's not 100% foolproof, but I can get a sense of who's done most of the work or who's done which pieces. It's all color coded for me, and I can see when they did it. And that's a really useful thing. It's also helpful when a mistake was made somewhere. You can go back in and change some things. But these are great ways to interact with your students from apart, not in the same building or even in the same classroom when you're trying to manage workspace and keep your distance. So those are really good tools, I think, to help build out your ability on this platform to make this kind of dynamic and useful and not just busy work. It shouldn't, I always was struck, I forget the name of the guy the district brought in one year, but he was talking about the $1,000 pencil. And it was the keynote speaker one year saying, we don't want this one-to-one program to become a $1,000 pencil for students. You could do the same thing by passing out a piece of paper and having them do the work. So if you're doing this just for them to type and just for them to do those things, well, you haven't really created a dynamic, engaged program study for them. Google Classroom, if used well, can really kind of broaden that dynamic a little bit more. It can be really helpful. All right. There's one more thing I want to
restore from there too.
Yeah. I can go back to this version or go back to another version. Yeah.
Especially if the kids have made too many mistakes and you want them to start back to where they were at a good point, you can restore back to that point and then they can go from there.
Right.
Good to know.
All right, now there's one more thing I wanted to show you, and it's about collecting information from students. Sometimes you just want to do like a quick check and see how they're doing, or I'm going to show you what I do with band. So this is at the end of every week, my students do a rehearsal assessment on how they did for the week. What I do is I put up this link to a Google form, and I post it. And you're going to get this now. And then when they open it, they see a Google form, standard kind of deal. And then they go through and they answer all these questions, right? And they submit it when they're done. And then I don't know how familiar you all are with Google Forms, but
Yeah, never used it.
I know that's my next thing I want to do.
okay.
I do it as a check-in every couple of weeks.
So that might be a good training that we can add for you all. But I just want to show you kind of the power of it because it really is very, very useful thing. So I'm going to show you the back end of what I've done in the past. And all right. So this was the link that I put up. I designed all this in forms, right? Now it's time for me to look at their responses. So I go back into the file I created and click on responses. And I can see a summary of everyone who's answered, different answers they gave, the percentage of students who said each thing. Really, it compiles all of it for you. Now, you can also dump this by clicking this button into a Google Sheet, and it will put it all into the spreadsheet for you.
Wow.
And
Will you go back to that again? How do you put it in there?
So
do that.
you create your Google form, which I'm not going to cover here. That's too complicated.
Yeah. Because I have some, and I'm going into them individually.
Okay. So once you're done and ready to get that data back, you open the file you created and click on responses. And if you don't want any more, you can turn it off so they don't accept anymore. But then click that little green button here, and it will take all of your stuff and put it here into this document. For me, this is kind of a formative thing for me. How did they do this week? I've got 70 kids in band. I can't get to all of them in a rehearsal. I want to go back and see what they're thinking and making sure, one thing I need help with. And so I can go and quickly scan through this and build that into my teaching for the next time we address that particular issue. So this kind of data gathering thing is incredibly helpful. when there's a lot of writing, you can see it gets kind of funky here. If it's a number thing,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier. But this is great for evaluations. And you get evaluated by administration, things like that.
Yeah.
Always collecting data. I've got thousands of responses on this type of thing, doing that way. So
So this is where you would do a survey.
Yeah, or even a multiple choice test or reading questions,
Yep.
short answer,
Yeah.
true or false, things like that. And then just for your own ease, if you do like multiple choice, you can do the answer bank that
Yep.
it just automatically marks it right or wrong. So then just if we're
Oh, wow.
complete or incomplete.
And that's Google Forms?
now, I think Google Forms and creating quizzes would be a great topic for us to explore offering another training on. It's a little
Yeah.
more
Yeah, I agree.
complicated. But one other thing here to show you in this classwork section is this material category.
Mm-hmm.
If this is just reference material for students to find and you just want it posted there for eternity so they have it, like your course syllabus or a reference sheet they need for this unit. You click the material tab, you can put in your information here and post it. They'll see it, and when they click on the materials button, all their resources will come up that are marked.
Oh.
I actually just helped my wife do that the other day because she's trying to do Google Classroom for the first time. Google Classroom can be very, very useful when you become comfortable with it. And, I don't think we've had too many problems at the high school level and even at the middle school level during the shutdown with kids accessing these things because we use them all the time. So it was a natural extension of it. I don't think the elementaries use them quite as much. And so it might be helpful for those that work in those buildings to build that capacity out a little bit in case we need it going forward. And it's great because it meshes together with all your Google products.
Yeah.
You can manage your way around all right here. There are lots of tools and add-ons you can put in. So many programs now will automatically integrate with Google Classroom. It really is a powerful tool, but it can be overwhelming, not only for the teacher, but for the student and for the parent at home who's trying to teach them at home based on the stuff we've given them. So the more we can consolidate, the more we can make sure that we bundle things and package them rather than 8 emails going out with posts. To me, that's one of the biggest challenges with my kids. We go into their school email and it's just like this massive list of emails populated from Aspen or from Google. And I'm like, I don't want to sort through all this. I just want to go to Classroom and see what I need. So
We don't have to deal with it, thank God, Justin,
for sure.
because it could be a mess.
Yep. I don't know if there are any other questions or things that you were wondering about that I could help you with while we're in the chat here.
Deb, I will tell you that all of your students have experience using Google Forms, so they are familiar with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to go with that now to really work with that. So maybe if, another couple of weeks that might be offered. You know how you play with it, you'll have more questions than if on a blank slate.
Right.
If you guys ever have questions about this particular topic, feel free to reach out to me.
I will.
Chat with you, or I can answer it by email.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I would say that too. If you do a good job with your Google Classroom, right?
Yeah.
You can keep reusing that Google Classroom. So, for example, let's say next year I offer the same course I taught this year. I don't need to recreate everything. I can go back to this reuse and go back to previous courses when I did the same thing. And now I never have to create that same post again. And this saves so much time. And that's why I take my time the first time I do it now to try to make sure it's right so that next year I just pull it over, reuse that post, bang, I'm done. It's got all the assignments, creates new copies for everyone. I can edit a link if I need to. I can add something if I need to. and it just really streamlines the process.
That's exactly what I do, Justin. It's so smart. Do it right the first time. I personally, because I have so many classes, I have to create new classes. Otherwise, I have to delete all the kids off there. But just being able to reuse that post and not have to type everything out, it's just such a time saver.
And you can see here, like I have 2 sections of the same class. So when I create one, I don't need to do everything twice. I just reuse it
Right.
and it goes right in there.
Yep.
And when I teach those classes again next year, I'll do this again. And,
Yep.
a really, really helpful thing to do. So.
Quick question, Justin. So if I archive my class, say, for this year, how do I get those posts stay there? How do I transfer them over to next year?
So when you go into your classroom, right? Let's say I want to reuse an assignment I did. You go to create, reuse post. And now these are all the classes that these are all my Google Classrooms, but they'll say archive next to them.
Oh, okay.
Find the one that you want and you can click on it. It will pull up anything that was posted for that class, find the one you want.
Okay. So that when I archive a class, all that stuff doesn't go with it then. Perfect.
Unless you go into Google Drive on the back side of things and start deleting stuff, which another thing I'm teaching Thursday is how to manage Google Drive.
Oh.
It's such a huge mess.
I'll do that. Yep.
You gotta know how it works in order to organize it.
I think I've signed up for that too.
Yeah, me too.
Because mine's a mess.
Mine's a mess.
The other thing too is if you go to post, say Justin has an American popular music first block, but he also has a third block, and he knows he's going to post the same assignment for those classes. If he posts in a classwork assignment on the first one, when it says assign to students, you can actually assign to classes too. So I have 3 freshman year-long English classes. So we're doing the same thing in all 3 classes. You know, if we're reading Romeo at Act 4, I'm going to post that in there in that block A, and then I also check off B and C. So with that one post, it goes to all the classes. Okay. So that's when you assign a student, you can also assign a classroom. So
that's great.
Right. I have one other question.
Go ahead.
On the stream, if I delete something off of the stream, that doesn't take something off of the classwork, right? Or does it?
If you take it off the slit, so if
like if I just go down, because mine is pretty full, I just want to delete some of the stuff rather than hide it. Will that delete what's in my classroom work?
That's a good question.
Because I'm afraid to do that and lose.
I think it does. I think it does.
I don't think it will let you. I don't think you can delete an assignment from the stream. Like I just tried it here. It only lets you edit it.
Just the comments and things?
Yeah, so like this here, they want to make sure you don't accidentally delete this because that's an assignment with graded work. This one was just the post for information. This one I could just delete.
Okay.
No, but I think that if you go to classwork and delete it there, it will also delete it off the stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't delete it from the stream, but you can delete it and then it should take it off.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that it wasn't going to delete it from that.
See if it worked. It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
So be careful with when you delete. If you have to, rename them so it says, old posts or old assignments or something like that, so at least you know that it's something you're not really working on right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why when all this craziness started, I started creating new categories and new topics so that all this stuff down here, I left behind. And I started recategorizing based on what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
But that will still appear on the stream, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I know, because my stream is so long.
I know, mine too.
Well, what's good with that is
though, right?
Well, what's good with that is so even if it's 45 scrolls down with your mouse, in theory, the kids and their parents should only be looking at the first few posts because it's ranked chronologically with it's up top.
Right.
So the only issue that you'll run into is if you have a kid that was out for a few days or he had gone on a vacation. It is done still chronologically, so you can say go down to February 21st
Yeah.
the assignment was posted, so you can do it that way. So they just have to scroll. But as far as the sheer length of it, for me, it hasn't become an issue because that stuff, it kind of gets forgotten anyway because no one scrolls that far down.
And I just tell them everything that I really want them to see is in the classwork anyway.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yep, and by date, so.
Right.
And there's some keyboard shortcuts to search for things to take you to a post, but I'm not going to try to show you that because it's going to be more confusing than it's worth. But
Okay.
Okay.
sometimes I do delete announcements, like tomorrow night's football game has been postponed due to mosquitoes. Well, I don't need that announcement in May anymore. Like that was for last fall, so I just get rid of it. It's one less thing that needs to be there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just depends. Sometimes I leave it just to show that this is how I'm communicating with families and students.
Yeah.
But
And I think it still shows up in your drive, if I'm not mistaken, in this, like any assignments that they did, like documents, it'll still be in their drive, and any documents that are attached to that assignment will still show in your classroom folder in your drive.
yeah, that's one more good point here, and a good one to end with. I think when your course is over, the school year ends, encourage your students not to remove themselves. I know at the high school level, they're like, semester's over, I'm going to a new course, and they unenroll from the class. Well, I just lost access to everything. I can't find it.
Oh.
Really difficult. They need to stay in the class. And I'm hoping that Google will put in a feature that you can lock the class so they can't do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's caused me some real problems in the past because they have to re-enroll. We got to make sure all the work links again. And so it might be good to put an announcement saying, do not remove yourself from the class. But
That's why I archive my classes.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Well, the problem is there might be, like at the high school, we end on one day and the next day is the next semester, but I have 2 weeks.
Oh, that's
grades
right.
done.
Oh,
I
right.
can't archive the class, otherwise I can't grade the work.
Right.
No.
So it has to stay live, but they've pulled out and now I can't get their work. So for the young kids, they're not even going to know that.
Yeah,
that's
probably
They don't even-
elementary,
they
that's
don't
a
even know.
concern for us. Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, are any other questions that
No,
people
thank
have?
you so much.
No, that's been really helpful.
And this video will be posted. So if you want to go back through something we talked about, you can go back in and watch the video. I'm not sure where they're posting it all, but the district will take care of that.
Yeah.
If you, like I said, if you have questions as you're working through these things, feel free to shoot me an email or ask to jump on a chat and we can help you troubleshoot.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
All right. Thank you.
Happy Cinco de
Bye.
Mayo.
You too.
See you later.
Yeah.